Hey, it's Tom. Welcome to another edition of Page Turning Tuesdays. A couple days ago, fun fact, I turned 60 years old. So, in honor of my birthday, I'm going to do this one wearing my birthday suit. I hope you don't mind. Kidding, of course. Don't run away from. I'm just kidding. We're going to continue reading from book one in my memoir series, even though book two is out. So, losers, why don't you just buy book one and read it yourself? Are you ready to go in? We're on chapter 4. And I remember where I left off. It was right here. We're talking about my little brother just entered the scene, Alex. While baby Alex is napping, I sneak into my parents' room and tiptoe to his crib like a trained assassin. Then I pull down my pajamas, lift and aim my tiny pecker and shower him with pee. Even as an infant, he knows this is a terrorist act, a hate crime. I can see it in his eyes. Lacking the ability to speak makes him the perfect target, although he proves to be more agile than I expected, and I have to chase him around with my destructive art. He screams louder than I've ever heard him yell before. I cut myself off midstream and flee the pee scene, only to get caught by my mother. I am a horrible brother. Deep down, some sort of fraternal love and unconditional acceptance must exist. But at this point in our lives, we're foes competing for attention. Besides, I know he isn't my real brother because we have different fathers, and as my half brother, I feel he's entitled to only half of my brotherly love, if that. Lucky for us, John is a workaholic. He's the science editor for the San Francisco Chronicle. He does most of his work in the office and is away from home quite often. When he's away, Mom lets us relax and be kids. Sometimes John is on TV during the news talking scientifically about a new strain of flu or killer bees, and when he is, he looks calm and approachable. He speaks softly, smiles occasionally, and looks perfectly relaxed on camera. He's an entirely different person. My sisters and I hardly recognize him. Who is that guy? Why isn't he like this at home? It's 1967 in the Bay Area, and there's lots of protests and street marches. On weekends, Mom and Peggy often take us to demonstrations. I think because they know we'll be safer there than in our own homes. Peggy preaches us the importance of standing up for our beliefs, fighting for our rights, and that every voice matters. She tells us that together we have the power to bring about real change. Always, always question authority, she likes to say. We ride streetcars, buses, and cable cars to Civic Plaza and the Golden Gate Park and wherever else the action is. One time, while looking at the window at a particularly large throng of people, Shelley says, "So, this is the human race." She meant to say it to herself, but it sounded like she was narrating an epic documentary. Her dramatic words quickly become one of the first catchphrases we use, in this case to torture her about her own deep thoughts. I'm too young to understand exactly what these gatherings are about, but I love them anyway. Make love, not war, black is beautiful, equal rights, they all sound good to me. Shelley gravitates towards the people making signs. She's already a good artist and paints excellent peace signs and doves. Chris and Molly, along with anyone else they can recruit, form these chains of people who would massage, comb, or braid the hair on the head of the person sitting in front of them. I jump into one of these chains just to find out how an afro feels. We may be spreading lice and mites, but it was extremely communal and very relaxing. There are often TV cameras, reporters, photographers, and cops on horses and police with dogs roaming the crowd. We'd see people chanting anti-war statements between speeches, and sometimes crowds would march down the streets halting traffic. More than once we lost each other in the crowd, but never panicked because despite the chaos, it always felt safe. There was lots of music and people with flowers in their hair and plenty of dancing. Sometimes there were naked and nearly naked people that we'd point out to each other and say, "Look, naked woo-woo." We'd say, unable to contain our laughter. During one of these mass gatherings, I watched my mother with Alex on her hip and a tambourine in her hand, twirling around in her own little world. We never see this side of her at home, especially around John. Out here, she's free and happy. At home, John expects her to remain a buttoned-down, zippered-up housewife he can control. She can dip her toes into the hippie pool, but John forbids her from diving in. She can't express or reveal her true identity, at least not yet. When John sets foot into our apartment, we scamper out of sight like meerkats. One of his favorite threats is, "You better behave or I'll beat the tar out of you." This expression confuses my young brain because I know what tar is. I watched them tar the roof on the apartment next door, and the odor filled my room for days. Tar is a sticky black oily substance mopped onto rooftops and used in the construction of roads. I'm fairly certain I do not have any of it in me, nor am I brave enough to mention this to John. At 6 feet 4 inches, he's a mountain of intimidation. When he raises his voice and roars, we feel it in our bones. But there's nothing that scares us more than the sound of his leather belt as he rips it from his waist, folds it in half, grabs both sides, pushes them together slowly, pulls them apart quickly, producing the gut-wrenching sound of a loud snap. He likes to do it in series of threes. Snap, snap, snap. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I'll be back on next Tuesday to read more from my memoir, Don't Call Me Jupiter. Thanks, and I'll see you in a week.